Good afternoon, everybody. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we will now start. Okay. So where we have left in our last class, we have done with the classification of terms. Is that it? Pankajini?
Yes, ma'am.
We have discussed till the classification of terms, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So today we will start with discussing logical definition. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we already discussed that logic deals with the arguments, and for a proper assessment of an argument, we must be clear about the meaning of the terms used in the proposition. So, argument consists of proposition and proposition consists of terms. So, it is necessary to understand the meaning of the terms. And meaning of the term is clearly stated in its definition. Okay. Now, remember that a word which is which we want to define is called as definiendum. The word which we want to define is called as definiendum. Okay? Definindum. Definiendum. And the group of words which make the meaning clear is called definiens. Definiens. So one is our definiendum and the other is our definiens. So definiendum is the word that we want to define, and by that which we want to define, or by that by sorry the word by which we define the given word is called definiens. So that is the very distinction between the definiendum and the definiens. Okay. So the definiens is a group of words having same meaning as the definiendum. Clear? So these are very important to understand while we try to know about logical definition. Okay. For example, suppose we want to know what is the meaning of the word subjugate. What is the meaning of the word subjugate? So the subjugate is called as definiendum. Okay. Now the subjugation or subjugate means to control. Okay. Now this meaning to control is called as definiens. Another example is, for example, we want to define the word triangle. And the definition is a triangle is a plane figure bounded by three straight lines. In this case, the word triangle is the definiendum, and the group of words that is a plane figure bounded by three straight lines is to be called as definiens. So the meaning of the definiendum is same as the meaning of the definiens, but definiendum is not same as definiens. Though definiendum is to be understood in terms of definiens, but they are not same. When we classify the meaning by stating the connotation, we give a connotational definition. So, whenever we're trying to define something, define a word or define a term in terms of its connotation, in terms of its essential definition, then that definition which we are trying to give is to be called as connotational definition. Similarly, we are also having denotational reference. Denotation is the reference of the term or the word to what it refers. Okay. So if our definition contains the denotation of the word, then the definition is called as denotational definition. So a denotational definition aims at classifying the meaning by pointing out instances in the denotation, that is by pointing out members of the class signified by the terms. Now this denotational definition involves another kind of definition which is called as ostensive definition. Okay, and this ostensive definition is sorry this ostensive definition is verily applicable when we are trying to make sense of something to a child. Okay, so whenever we're trying to make the child to understand certain things, what we are doing, we used to point at the thing. See, this is it. See, this is that. So this pointing method or the way of pointing out towards the object is called as ostensive definition. So a child who does not understand the meaning of the word cat, for example, gradually begins to understand it when we point out some instances. This process of explaining the meaning is called the process of giving the ostensive definition. Okay. So here I utter the word and at the same time start gesturing at the thing. It is a non-verbal definition. Okay. Now, even if ostensive definition is denotational in nature, but it also has certain disadvantages. How? Because we cannot make sense of everything or we cannot define everything in terms of the gestures or in terms of by pointing out towards something. So that is the very one of the disadvantage of ostensive definition. So when we're trying to define the general terms, for example, we're trying to define the term called man, and man includes, as we have discussed, that man includes the all the men of past, present, and future. There, how can we use ostensive definition to understand or to define the term man. So that is one of the very disadvantage of ostensive definition. Okay. Another disadvantage is the same individual member may fall within the denotation of two different terms with different meanings. The same individual who can be called as stone can also be called as solid. Here, the denotation is identical, but the connotation of the two terms are distinct. This is another disadvantages. Another disadvantage is that the same entity can have different connotations. Okay, and when the same entity is having different connotations in different contexts, there how can we have a similar gesture, or how can we point out the thing to make to understand or to define it. Another disadvantage is regarding the words which are non-referential in nature, like for example sky flower, okay, unicorn. All these are square circle. All these are the examples of empty names, or the names which are not having any references. So here the question is, the ostensive definition cannot be applied here. Okay, am I clear? Am I clear?
Uh,
Yes,
Ma'am,
sir.
this from definitions, I started hearing the lecture.
Uh,
Can you just tell me the category of this topic? Like, what are we?
No, we are talking about, we are discussing about logical definitions. Okay, because as we have already, as I have already told you, that logic deals with argument, argument consists of proposition, and proposition contains the terms. Okay,
Yeah,
so in order to assess any argument, we need to understand the terms used in the arguments. Okay, and here, in order to understand the meaning of the terms, we need to understand the definition of it. So while in the context of definition, we are talking about definiendum and definiens. Okay, Amrish?
understood. Yes, understood.
Okay. So now there are certain rules of connotational definition, and these rules are called as five golden rules. What is rule 1? The rule 1 states that a definition must state the entire connotation of the term defined. The definition must state the entire connotation of the term defined. Rule 2 states that the denotation of the definiendum is what? The word or the term which we want to define. Okay. The denotation of the definiendum and the definiens by which we are defining, okay, must be identical. That means the denotation of definiendum and the denotation of definiens must be identical. Rule 3 states a definition should not contain either the term defined or any of its synonyms. So, while we are trying to define a term, we can't define a term by itself. Okay. For example, when I am saying what is triangle, so you cannot answer it like triangle is a triangle. So the definition of triangle must not contain the term or any of its synonyms, because the definition then will become circular in nature. Okay. Rule 4 states the definition should be clear and unambiguous. It should not be expressed in ambiguous, figurative, or obscure language. So, metaphorical definitions or ambiguous definitions or figurative definitions should be avoided. Rule 5 states that negative definitions should be avoided. Negative definition should be avoided. That means, suppose as we have taken the example of a triangle, if it is asked that what is a triangle, then if somebody is saying triangle is not a square, so that is not a definition of triangle. Okay, so these are the 5 golden rules of connotational definition. Okay, now let's move to the very uh, spine of the logical investigation, that is the discussion on propositions. Okay, so in the very first class we discussed that a judgment is a mental product. It asserts a relation between two ideas and beliefs which are mental entities. A judgment figures in an inference which is also a mental product. A judgment is either true or false. And when the judgment is expressed in the form of language, it is called as a proposition. So when a judgment is expressed in language, we get a proposition. And what are the characteristics of proposition? Proposition asserts a relation between two terms. What are these two terms? The subject term and the predicate term. A proposition is a linguistic entity and it consists of two terms and a copula asserting a relation between them. What is copula? Copula is a sign of the relation of affirmation or negation between the two terms. For example, politicians are citizens. In this example, the word politician is the subject term, citizen is the predicate term, and are is to be called as the copula. Okay. So here the copula are states the relation of affirmation between the subject term and the predicate term. Okay. Whereas if we take the example that politicians are not dependable, okay, where the subject term is politician and the predicate term is dependable, and the copula is the are not, then this are not shows the relation of exclusion between subject term and the predicate term. Okay. Now, before going to discuss proposition, let's first have a look on what is sentence. A sentence is a grammatical entity, whereas a proposition is a logical entity. The sentence is a grammatical entity, whereas the proposition is a logical entity. A sentence cannot be said to be either true or false. Sentences cannot be decided or cannot be said to be either true or false. A sentence is correctly or incorrectly constructed according to the rules of grammar. Whereas a proposition is either consistent or self contradictory according to as it obeys or does not obey the rules of meaning. Okay. A sentence is correctly or incorrectly constructed as per the rules of grammar, whereas propositions are either consistent or self contradictory as per the rules of semantics or meaning. The rules of grammar are different from the rules of meaning. A well constructed sentence may not be meaningful. The sentence which is grammatically well formed may not have any meaning in itself. For example, this man is a son of a barren mother. So the sentence is grammatically well formed, whereas it is not as per the rules of semantics. Or for example, Saturday goes on holiday. Saturday goes on holiday. This sentence is well grammatically well formed, but it is not at the par of semantical rules or rules of meaning. And also we have discussed about that how the same proposition might be expressed by a number of sentences. For example, Ram is a brother of Sham. Ram is the brother of Sham, which can also be stated as Ram and Sham are two brothers. Ram and Sam are the male children of same parents. So all these three sentences they express the same proposition. A particular sentence is confined to a particular language. A proposition is not so confined. A proposition expressed by three different sentences in three different languages, which we already discussed about it, that when I am saying it is raining and in Odia it is to be called as barsa hoji, in Hindi it is to be said as barish ho raha hai. All these are three different kinds of languages, but the proposition is same. So the characteristic of proposition is a proposition is either true or false, but the sentence is neither. So sentences are used in various ways for various purposes. Only when sentences are used for making reports and describing facts, we get propositions which are either true or false. As I have already said, that only declarative sentences are to be called as propositions. Okay. Now, as per the Aristotelian logic, Aristotle has talked about certain classification of proposition. Okay, if you want to write it down, please write down. So the first one is according to composition. As per the composition, there are three kinds of proposition. On the basis of composition, there are three kinds of proposition. One is simple, other is compound, and the third is exponable. Simple, compound, exponable. Are you writing, all of you, or you are listening only?
We are writing exponable is EXPONE.
NIBLE.
Exponibly.
Yes. Just a minute. And exponable is two types, exclusive and acceptive. Exponable is two types, exclusive and acceptive. Exceptive. So this is the division of proposition as per the composition. So according to composition, proposition is divided into three kinds: simple, compound and exponable. Exponable is divided into two types. One is exclusive and other is acceptive. We will discuss all this. According to relation, there are two kinds of propositions. According to relation, there are two types of proposition. One is categorical, other is conditional. One is categorical, other is conditional. And conditional propositions are of three types: hypothetical, alternative, and disjunctive. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. So, as per the third one, quality. According to quality, propositions are either affirmative or negative. So quality wise, two kinds of propositions. One is affirmative, another other is negative. Okay. According to quantity, according to quantity, propositions are universal or particular. According to modality, there are three types of propositions: necessary, assertory, problematic. Necessary, assertory, problematic.
What is the second one spelling?
A double
Assertory.
S, assertory, A double Sertori. Okay.
Necessary, assertory, problematic.
Yes. According to significance, propositions are of two types. One is verbal, the other is real. Now, what is simple proposition? A simple proposition asserts a relation between two terms. One is the subject term and the other is the predicate term. Like, for example, Ram is a man, cows are quadruped, some students are intelligent, etc. etc. Okay. Whereas a compound proposition consists of two or more propositions. Okay. The compound proposition consists of two or more proposition. For example, Ramu is intelligent and industrious, or both Ramo and Shamo are absent. or James is neither at home nor at school. So these are all compound propositions. Okay. The third one is exponable, and exponable is of two kinds, exclusive and exceptive. What is exclusive proposition? For example, let me give you one example to make it clear. None but the graduates are eligible for the post. Okay. Are you getting the example? None but the graduates are eligible for the post. अरे समझ में आ रहा है? एग्जाम्पल समझ में आ रहा है?
Yeah, by excluding the others, we are.
Yes. Like another example is only adults have the right to vote. So these are all exclusive propositions in as much as the predicate is asserted of some members of a class to the exclusion of all members of the opposite class. So these are exclusive propositions. Exceptive propositions is that where the predicate is affirmed or denied of the subject with with some exceptions are to be called as exceptive propositions. The proposition where the predicate is affirmed or denied of the subject with some or with some exceptions. For example, all metals except mercury are solid. Okay, so this is one of the example of exceptive propositions. Next category is the as per the relation, we are having two kinds of propositions. One is categorical, another is conditional proposition, and conditional again is of three kinds. So this categorical proposition, listen very carefully because this is very important categorical proposition for your further classes and further understanding. Categorical propositions, or in a categorical proposition, a relation is asserted between the subject and the predicate without any condition or restriction. I am repeating, in a categorical proposition, a relation is asserted between the subject and the predicate without any condition or restriction. For example, Hari is the author of many books. Okay. This is a categorical proposition. Some students are intelligent. Categorical proposition. All cows are quadruped. Categorical proposition. Okay. No boys are intelligent. Categorical proposition. So there is no restriction or condition between the subject and the predicate in the categorical proposition. The second one is conditional, or in other word is also called as hypothetical propositions. Okay. Hypothetical propositions, or in a hypothetical proposition, a relation is asserted between the subject and the predicate term subject to a condition. Okay. The relation between subject and predicate term subject to a relation. And very importantly, the hypothetical propositions are expressed in the form of if and then. If P, then Q. Okay. For example, if he if he accepts my invitation, then he shall attend my function. If there will not be any rain tomorrow, then we will go for a walk. Okay. Here the subject and predicate are related on the basis of a condition. So the form of hypothetical proposition is if and then. Okay. And what is alternative proposition and disjunctive proposition? Let me explain this. These two are very much related to each other, both the disjunctive and alternative proposition. And in disjunctive and alternative proposition, they are expressed in the form of either or. Okay, for example, if sorry, for example, uh, X is at Bhubaneswar. Either X is at Bhubaneswar or X is at Cuttack. Okay. Either if X is in Bhubaneswar, then the conclusion what we will follow? X is not at Bhubaneswar. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay. So either P or Q, and if P is true, then there will be not Q. Okay. So either X is at Bhubaneswar or X is at Cuttack, then X is at Bhubaneswar, therefore X is not at Cuttack. Clear? So this is a form where one of the alternative must be true. Okay. One of the alternative must be true. Both of these, both of the alternates cannot be true together. One cannot say X is in Bhubaneswar and X is in Cuttack now. So this form of explanation, or this form of proposition, is called as alternative proposition, where one of the alternative must be true. And here we reject the view that both the alternative can be true together. Okay? Next is the disjunctive proposition. In disjunctive proposition, which is also the form of either or. Okay. but it is a weak sense of either or. How it is a weak sense of either or? Here, there is a possibility that both the alternates can be true. Okay. In alternative, what we are doing? In alternative, the one of the alternate must be true, but not both. Here in disjunctive, one of the alternative must be true, but there is a possibility that both the alternates can be true. For example, the a man is or the man is either a fool or a knave. So it could be possible that the man is both. Are you getting me?
Man is either a fool or a.
Or a knave, Knave. The meaning is dishonest. Okay?
Yeah.
Or you can call it naive or whatever it is. Okay? The man is either a fool or dishonest. So, in this form of sentence or proposition, there is a possibility that the man can be both a fool and a dishonest person. Okay?
Yeah.
Next is classification as per the quality. So, quality wise, we are having affirmative proposition and negative propositions. In an affirmative proposition, the predicate is affirmed of the subject, whereas in the negative proposition, the predicate is denied of the subject. And I think you know about affirmative and negative sentences. Do I need to discuss this? Do I need to discuss this? ଆରେ ଓଡ଼ିଆରେ ଯୋଉଟାକୁ କହୁଛନ୍ତି ଅସ୍ଥିବାଚକ ନାସ୍ତିବାଚକ Amrish, yes? You
One
do?
example, if you can, yeah, affirmative. Uh,
Affirmative is?
like this cup of tea is hot.
Yes, this is affirmative. Amrish
Okay.
is a student, affirmative.
Okay.
Amrish is not a politician, negative.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Let's move to another classification, that is as per the quantity. So, quantity wise, we are having universal and particular proposition. Okay. What is universal proposition? If, listen it very carefully, here in this classification, you have to understand clearly what is categorical proposition, the division of proposition as per the quality and quantity. Okay, this is very important to understand. Just a second. What is universal proposition? If the predicate is affirmed or denied of the entire class of the subject term, the proposition is said to be universal. I am repeating, if the predicate is affirmed or denied of the entire class of the subject term, the proposition is said to be universal. Okay. For example, for example, if uh, like for example, all students are honest. All students are honest. Here the predicate honesty is affirmed about the all the members of the class student. Okay? And the second proposed example is no politicians are reliable. Here, the quality or the predicate reliable is denied of the entire class of politicians. Okay, so these are the examples of universal proposition where the predicate is either affirmed or denied of the entire class of the subject term. Okay, is it clear to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. Next is your particular proposition. If the predicate term is affirmed or denied of a part of the extension or denotation of the subject term, the proposition is said to be particular. Okay. In universal, we are talking about the entire class. But in particular proposition, it is not about the entire class, rather, we're talking about the part of the class. Okay. That means the predicate, if the predicate is affirmed or denied of a part of the denotation of the subject term, the proposition is said to be particular in nature. For example, some animals are not quadruped. Some animals are not quadruped. Here, the predicate quadruped is not denied to the entire class of animals. It is denied the some part of the subject term. Likewise, for example, some men are honest. Here, the predicate honest is affirmed not to the entire class of man, but to the part of the class. So, these are called as universal proposition and particular proposition. What is the next classification? As per the
Modality.
modality. Okay. So, as per the modality, we are having three kinds of proposition: necessary, assertory, and problematic. Okay. If the predicate is necessarily related to the subject, the proposition is a necessary one. If the predicate is necessarily related to the subject, then it is a proposition, then the proposition is a necessary one. Okay, remember? Let me just check an example of it. Okay. For example, when we say 2 plus 2 must make 4, this is an example of necessary relation between subject and predicate. But if the predicate is related to the subject, as a matter of fact, the proposition is assertory in nature. There is no necessary relation between subject and predicate. Rather, the predicate is related to the subject as a matter of fact. For example, some metals are solid, okay, which can be verified in the empirical world. Okay. Another is problematic, where we cannot definitely ascertain whether the predicate does or does not belong to the subject. There, our proposition becomes problematic in nature. For example, the statements like, it may rain today, or he might come tomorrow. Such kind of propositions are called as problematic. Okay, where the predicate does or does not belong to the subject. Understood?
Yeah.
Now, the last one is from the standpoint of significance, the propositions are divided into two types. One is verbal and other is the real proposition. Okay. In a verbal proposition, the subject term and the predicate term are equivalent in meaning. The subject and predicate are equivalent in meaning. The predicate states either the part or the whole of the meaning of the subject term. For example, men are rational. Triangles are three-sided plane figure. Okay, these are the verbal propositions where the predicate contains either the entire subject itself or the part of the subject. Okay, in the real propositions, in the real propositions, oh. In the real propositions, on the other hand, they can be accepted or rejected only by looking to the things as they really are in the world. For example, all men are biped. Such propositions are, in other words, called as synthetic propositions. Because in these propositions, the predicate synthesizes a quality with the subject not already implied with its meaning. Okay. So the real propositions are the propositions of about facts or any state of affairs. Am I clear?
Uh, Real proposition is like assertory proposition, like as a
Huh.
matter
So
of
they
fact.
are in the yes. You got it clear. Yeah, right. They are assertory propositions in a sense. Others, am I clear? No response. Are you all here in the class or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, based upon this Aristotelian classification of proposition, we are having classification of proposition according to mixed principles of quality and quantity. Okay. And here in this classification, which proposition we are going to take to be classified as per the quality and quantity? Only categorical proposition. Categorical proposition, if you remember, there is no condition between the subject and the predicate term of a proposition. So, as per the quality and quantity, categorical propositions can be classified into four kinds of propositions. As per the quality, we are having affirmative and negative. As per the quantity, we are having universal and particular. Okay. So, the first proposition will be universal affirmative proposition. The second proposition will be universal negative proposition. The third proposition will be particular affirmative proposition. And the fourth will be particular negative proposition. Okay. So here we are using only categorical proposition because in categorical proposition the subject there is no condition between subject term and the predicate term, and the categorical propositions are to be classified as per the quantity and quality. And as we know, there are two types of proposition as per the quantity, and there are two kinds of proposition as per the quality. Okay, so quantity wise universal and particular, quality wise affirmative and negative. So here in this regard, we are having four types of categorical propositions. One is universal affirmative, universal negative, particular affirmative, particular negative. Okay, clear everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes, anyone? Is anyone
Yes,
asking?
yes,
Ah,
ma'am.
पंकजनी कुह कौन है?
No, ma'am, clear ହେଇଗଲି.
हाँ, just give me 2-3 minutes, huh?
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let us let us understand this by uh, some examples. Okay. Universal affirmative propositions are also abbreviated as A propositions. Shortly, we are writing down, or symbolically, we use the letter A to represent universal affirmative proposition. Okay, am I clear?
Yeah.
A proposition is universal affirmative proposition. Similarly, the letter E stands for universal negative proposition. Okay. Then the letter I stands for particular affirmative proposition, and the letter O stands for the particular negative proposition. Okay. Now these A, E, I, O, from where we get them? Get this? We get, see, we are having two affirmative proposition. One is universal affirmative, another is particular affirmative. We are having two negative proposition. One is universal negative proposition, another is your particular negative proposition. Okay. So from the Latin word affirm, A double F I R M. From the Latin word affirm, we take the letter A and I. Okay, and from the Latin word nego, N-E-G-O, we take the letter E and O. Okay, now let's have some examples. Universal affirmative proposition like all Indians are peace loving. All Indians are peace loving. This is an example of universal affirmative proposition, which can be abbreviated as all S is P, where S is the subject, P is the predicate. Okay, all S is P. Universal affirmative proposition or EA proposition. Similarly, E proposition or universal negative proposition. For example, no foreigner is trustworthy. No foreigner is trustworthy. Symbolic form is no S is P. Likewise, particular affirmative or I proposition. Some Indians are intelligent. Some Indians are intelligent. Symbolically, some S is P. Particular negative proposition or O proposition, for example, some cows are not black. Symbolically, some S is not P. Some S is not P. Here S is the subject, P is the predicate. Am I clear to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. Next is another very important point to be understood as distribution of terms. Okay, distribution of terms. What is distribution of terms? Distribution of term is when all the members of a class, when all the members of a class are said to be included within or excluded from other class, that term is said to be distributed. I'm repeating. When all the members of a class are said to be included within or excluded from other class, that term is said to be distributed. Okay. For example, when we are saying all cows are quadruped, here here the term the class cow is entirely included in the class of entities or animals who are quadruped. Okay, so if a term is either totally included or totally excluded from other class, then that term is to be called as distributed in nature. For example, when we are saying all S is P, there the term S is totally included in the class P, or the class S is totally included in the class P. Therefore, the term S is distributed. Am I clear?
Yes.
Okay. Whereas, so in a proposition, which term is distributed? Is it subject or is it predicate?
Uh, Subject.
Subject term is distributed. Right. Let's see E proposition, where we're saying no S is P. No S is P. Or no cats are dogs. No cats are dogs. Here, both these two classes are mutually exclusive to each other. Okay, they are mutually exclusive to each other. So either I'm extremely sorry. So either the term totally included in another class or totally excluded. And since in E proposition both the terms are mutually exclusive to each other, so though they both of them exclude each other. So in E proposition, both the subject and the predicate term are distributed. Okay. Whereas in in I proposition, some S is P. Okay. Here, the subject class is neither completely included in the predicate class nor does it completely excluded from the predicate class. So in I proposition, no terms are distributed. No terms are distributed. Clear?
Yes.
Huh. Now let's see what is the case in O proposition. The O proposition symbolically being expressed as some S is not P. Okay. Some S is not P. Okay. Here, this is little tricky to understand. When we are saying some S is not P, here the predicate class is entirely excluded. The predicate class is entirely excluded. Therefore, the predicate term in O proposition is distributed. Am I clear?
Yes.
So, in A proposition, only subject term is distributed. In E proposition, both subject and predicate term are distributed. In I proposition, no terms are distributed. And in O proposition, only predicate term is distributed. Okay? Or in other words, or in other words, the universal propositions distribute their subject. Okay? Or in other words, you can say the negative propositions distribute their predicates. So all these, based upon this classification of A, E, I, O, now it is also necessary how these propositions are related to each other. And the relation among the proposition are called as the relation of proposition or oppositions or sevenfold relation. Okay, so there are seven possible relation hold between the propositions. And out of these seven relations, the five relations are very important. Now let P and Q be any two proposition. Let P and Q be any two proposition. Now the first relation is the relation of independence. The relation of independence. Independence is they may be so related that from the truth or falsity of the one, nothing can be inferred about the truth or falsity of the other. Okay, they are independent of each other. Second is the relation of equivalence. Two propositions may be equivalent so that they are either both true or both false. Okay, either both of them are true or both of them are false. That is the relation of equivalence. Now, the relation of contrary. Listen it very carefully. What is the contrary relation and which propositions are related in this relation? Two propositions may be so related that the truth of any one implies the falsity of the other, but not conversely. Okay, two propositions are related in a manner that if one of them is true, that is given, then we can decide the truth value of the other, which will be false. Okay, so here both of them can be false simultaneously, but cannot be true together. Are you writing it down?
Yeah.
So, in contrary relation, two propositions can be false simultaneously but cannot be true together. Hence, if one of them is true, then the other one is false. But if one of them is false, that is given, then we cannot decide the truth value of the other one because they can be false together. Okay? Now, which propositions in this A, E, I, O are contrary to each other? The proposition A and E are contrary to each other. Okay, the proposition A and E are contrary to each other. Okay,
Okay.
so A and E can be false together, but they cannot be true together. But if any one of them is true given, then the other one is false. But if any one of them is false that is given, then we cannot decide the truth value of the other. Okay. Okay. Now the second relation is sub-contrary. It is just the opposite of contrary relation. Two propositions may be so related that the falsity of any one of them implies the truth of the other, but not conversely. Here, both of them can be true together, but this cannot be false together. Such relation is called as sub-contrary. Such relation is called as sub-contrary. Okay. So two propositions can be true together, but they cannot be false together. But if any one of them is false, then other one is true. But if any one of them true that is given, then we cannot decide the truth value of the other. Okay. So who are the proposition related? Which are the proposition related in sub-contrary relation? The proposition I and O are sub-contrary to each other. Like some S is P, some S is not P. Like some cats are black, true, some cats are not black is also true. Okay, so
Ma'am,
they
can
can
you
be true together, but cannot be
can,
false together. Yes, Amrish?
ma'am, can you please repeat the definition of the contrary relation
Yes,
one more?
yes, yes. This is just the opposite of contrary relation. Okay.
Mhm.
Two propositions may be so related that the falsity of any one of them implies the truth of the other, but not conversely. Here, both of them can be true together, but they cannot be false together. Okay? Did you write?
Yes.
Okay. So E and I and O are subcontrary to each other. Okay. Next is contradictory relation. Two propositions may be so related that truth of any one of them implies the falsity of the other, and also the falsity of any one of them implies the truth of the other. So if one is true, other one is false. If one is false, other one is true. That is the relation of contradictory, which is holding between A and O proposition, I and E proposition. If A is true, O is false. If O is true, A is false. Similarly, if E is true, I is false. If E is false, I is true. Am I clear? Am I clear?
A and O is one
Hmm.
category. Other is I and
E.
uh, I and E.
E and I or I and E, yeah, whatever it may be.
Okay.
Okay. So if one of them is true, other one will be false. That is the relation of contradictory. Next is super alternation. Next is super alternation, which is holding between two affirmative propositions. Okay, universal and particular. A and I. Okay. So two propositions are related in this super alternation relation, that if one is true, other one is true. But if one is false, then the other one is undecided. If the universal proposition A is true, then the particular proposition I is true. But if the universal proposition A is false, then the truth value of I proposition is undecided. Okay? Similarly, the super alternation between E and O. If E is true, O is true. But if E is false, then O is undecided. Am I clear?
Yeah.
Just the opposite is, see here, if the universal proposition is true, then the particular is true. But if the universal proposition is false, then we cannot decide the truth value of the particular proposition. Okay. Now just converse it. Okay. If the particular proposition is false, then the universal will be false. But if the particular is true, then the universal is undecided. Okay. So this relation is called as subalternation. That is between I and A and O and E. Superalternation is between A and I and E and O. Subalternation is between I and A, O and E. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. So this contrary, subcontrary, contradictory, superalternation, and subalternation. These five oppositions are represented in a square, okay, which is called as square of opposition, which is represented as square of opposition. Okay. You would, in order to understand this, what you need to do is draw a square in your copy, a big square. Are you doing it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Then, huh, who is it? Then in the left, upper left corner of the square, write down A. Outside of the box. Okay. Are you doing it? Or I will do it. I'll show you.
Um, yeah, it will be nice if you can show.
But how?
Okay. Okay, we'll do it.
Okay, let me just try. I can do it, but it will take some time.
We can try it first if it works out.
Okay. Just in every corner of the square, you have to put in left side, you have to write A. In right, you have to put write E. And in the bottom, I and O.
Bottom right is O.
Right is O, left is I. Okay.
Actually, I see this table in page 15 of our study material.
Yes, yes, yes. There must be. That is called as square of opposition, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
It
when
is
it's
called
like
opposition. Huh, huh, huh.
there is like between A and E, they're writing contraries, and and between A and I subalterns, and
Hmm.
between I and O subcontraries, and between E and O subalterns,
Okay.
and in the center contradictories, something like that.
Okay, okay, okay. Fine, fine, fine. Huh. So, two propositions are said to be opposed to one another if they have the same subject and same predicate but differ either in quality or in quantity or in both. Okay, because why they are called as oppositions? Because they must oppose to each other either in terms of quantity or quality or in both in quantity and quality. But the subject and predicate of the proposition must stand as it is. Okay, just read it down, you will understand it. So, from this, if the truth value of any of the proposition is given, then on the basis of such relation, you will be able to derive the truth value of other propositions as well. For example, if A proposition is true, then what will be the truth value of EIO? Similarly, if A is false, what will be the truth value of EIO? Okay. So, in the next class, be prepared with this. Take A as true, then decide what will be the truth value of rest of the three. And take A as false and decide what will be the truth value of rest. Similarly, take E as true and decide what will be the truth value of A, I, O. Are you getting me, everybody?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next is your um, after this propositional analysis, we will move to the next part, that is deductive inference and immediate inference. Okay, deductive inference and immediate inference. Okay. So, inference, as we have already discussed, is a mental product consisting of beliefs which are its premises and a belief which is its conclusion. So, the validity of an inference cannot be tested unless it is expressed in language. And when it is expressed in language, the inference becomes an argument. And once an argument is presented to us, we can apply the tools of logic to determine its validity. So, logic, therefore, is directly or indirectly logic is therefore directly concerned with arguments but indirectly concerned with the inference. So, here, inference, if you want to draw, then draw. Inference is of two types. One is reductive inference, another is inductive inference. Okay? Then further, deductive inference is two types. One is immediate, another is mediate. Immediate and mediate. Okay, this mediate deductive is also called as syllogism. Syllogisms. Okay, inference is of two types, deductive and inductive. Deductive again is of two types, immediate and mediate. Mediate is also called as syllogism. Now, mediate is again divided into four kinds. Sorry, mediate is again divided into two kinds. One is pure and mixed. Okay. Under pure syllogism, we are having two types of pure syllogism. One is categorical, second is hypothetical. Okay. And hypothetical is again four types. First one is hypothetical categorical, second one is alternative, third one is disjunctive, fourth one is dilemma. Okay,
What is the second one? After hypothetical, categorical?
it is alternative.
Alter-
Alternative, disjunctive, dilemma.
This is
Okay,
pronounced as syllogism or syllogism? Syllogism,
syllogism.
syllogism.
सिलोलिज्म इस मतलब बोलते बोलते सिलोलिज्म हो गया है.
अच्छा.
और बस सिलोजिम बोल देते हैं कोई कोई.
Okay.
बस समझने में आ जाना चाहिए. समझ में आया?
Not entirely, but yeah, I can understand.
Okay, syllogism. Okay. Then let's see what is immediate inference. In immediate inference, we proceed directly or immediately from a premise to the conclusion. In immediate inference, we proceed directly from the premise to the conclusion. There is no intermediate step between the premise and the conclusion. So there is only one premise, and from a single premise, we draw a conclusion. That is called as immediate inference. Okay? So if in immediate inference, we draw conclusion immediately from the premises without having any intermediate lines, then inductive argument cannot be an immediate inference. Because in inductive argument, we deal with a number of premises in order to draw the conclusion. Okay. Do you remember inductive argument where I have given the example of A is a crow, A is black, B is a crow, B is black, C is a crow, C is black. Therefore, all crows are black. Until another 3-4 instances, then we draw the conclusion that all crows are black. So there is no immediate deduction happen in inductive inference. Okay. So inductive arguments are not immediate inferences. Therefore, only deductive arguments can be immediate in nature. Okay.
Okay.
So, since in all inductive argument we proceed from a number of premises to a conclusion which is more general than the premises, there cannot be any form of immediate inference in induction or in inductive argument. All inductive arguments are therefore mediate inferences. Okay, they are mediate in character, and all forms of immediate inference are deductive in nature. Okay, for example, all dogs are quadruped, therefore, some dogs are quadruped. It is an example of an immediate inference. Okay, if it is true that all dogs are quadruped, then it is also true that some dogs are quadruped. So, this is an example of immediate inference. Okay. Whereas in mediate inference, the conclusion follows from the premises, not a premise, rather from a set of premises. Therefore, the inductive arguments are mediate inference, where the deductive arguments can be both immediate and mediate. Okay. So, in immediate inference, it is mainly of uh, four types, out of which we will only discuss two. Immediate inference are of two types. Four types. They are conversion, oversion, contraposition, and inversion. Okay, conversion, oversion, contraposition, and inversion. Okay, so we will only discuss conversion and oversion. Conversion is a form of immediate deductive inference in which the subject and the predicate terms of the premise are legitimately transposed into the conclusion. Okay. So in immediate inference, we do not have any intermediate premises. Okay. From a single premise, we can draw a conclusion. Okay. So conversion is an immediate inference. Okay. In conversion, how we draw the conclusion from a given premise? You all know that in every form of you know in every form of deduction or an argument, the propositions or the premises should be categorical in nature. Okay. So categorical means, as per the classification, we are having A, E, I, O. Suppose we are having I proposition, and from I proposition, as per the rule of conversion, I will deduce a conclusion. Okay. Without changing the truth value of the proposition. Suppose the I proposition is some women are writers. Okay, some women are writers. So in conversion, what is the rule? The rule is the subject and predicate term of the premise are legitimately transposed into the conclusion. That means the subject will come to the place of predicate and predicate will come to the place of subject. And we will get a new conclusion. And another very significant point that we need to remember is that the truth value should not be changed. That means if my original proposition is some women are writer is true, then if I change the subject into predicate and predicate into subject, then I will get some writers are women, which is also an I proposition. Okay, And here the conversion is successful because it does not affect the truth value of the original proposition. Okay, am I clear to everybody?
Yes.
हाँ, अरे हिंदी में समझाऊं क्या किसी को? Do anybody need ओडिया? ओडिया में किसी को चाहिए? बोलो. और इज इट क्लियर? तो कोई लगता है कोई है ही नहीं.
It's clear, ma'am.
Okay. So in conversion, the premise is called the convertent and the conclusion is called converse. Okay. So in conversion, the premise is called convertent and the conclusion is called converse. Okay. Now let's see, can we apply the rule of conversion in case of AEIO proposition or not? Okay. Let's see. All dogs are animals. All dogs are animals. This is a proposition. Okay. Now converse it. What we will do? We will
All
replace. Yes. Yes. Yes, Ambrish. Go on.
all animals are dogs. We
So
will
what happens here?
the truth value gets violated. Like
Yes. So the original is the all dogs are animals. When we make it convert, then the truth value violated. All dogs are animals, which is true. Now by the process of conversion, what we get it all animals are dogs, which is not true. Okay. So in a proposition, what we will do here, the A proposition, all dogs are animals, which is true, then from it we can deduce another particular proposition with same subject and predicate as some dogs are animals. Okay. Now we can convert this some dogs are animals as some animals are dogs. Then there will not be any problem. So if A proposition is true, then its subsequent I proposition will be true. Okay. And we will convert the I proposition. Then there will not be any problem. So in A proposition, what we are doing is conversion per limitation. We limit the A proposition, then we apply the rule of conversion. Okay, A proposition is all dogs are animals, but when we directly convert it, then the truth value becomes changed. So what we need to do is that from A proposition we can equivalently derive I proposition, and in I proposition we can apply the rule of conversion. Okay. Whereas in E proposition there will not be any problem. Like no horses are horned animals. No horses are horned animals. Converse it, no horned animals are horses. Okay. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Similar is the case of I proposition. Some students are intelligent or some students are politically minded. If we converse it, some politically minded persons are students. Okay. And in case of O proposition, we can also uh, do the conversion. But in O proposition, the rule of conversion is not applicable. Okay. For example, some students are not industrious. Here, if we interchange the subject and predicate by saying that some industrious persons are students or some not industrious persons are students, we can point out here that this type of conversion of an O proposition is not according to the rule. Okay, if it is there in your material, please check. If not, then I will explain. Okay. So another form of immediate inference is overson. So in overson, what we can do is overson is the process of immediate deductive inference in which from a given proposition we get an equivalent proposition as conclusion by taking the contradictory of the original predicate as the predicate and also by changing the quality. Okay. ओभरसन रे आमे कौन करिबा केमिति कंक्लूजन पाइबा प्रेमाइस रे जो सब्जेक्ट आ प्रेडिकेट थिबो हैला से प्रेडिकेट रो कॉन्ट्राडिक्टरी को कंक्लूजन रो प्रेडिकेट करिबा आ ओरिजिनल प्रेमाइस रो जो क्वालिटी थिबो सेटा कंक्लूजन रे चेंज हेइबो यदि ओरिजिनल प्रेमाइस रो क्वालिटी अफर्मेटिव थिबो कंक्लूजन नेगेटिव हेइजिबो यदि ओरिजिनल प्रेमाइस रो क्वालिटी नेगेटिव थिबो कंक्लूजन रे अफर्मेटिव हेइजिबो okay. So that is the rule of immediate inference.
Ma'am, on the study material, I'm not able to find these four conversion or oversion.
Don't have immediate inference in your study material?
I'm not able to find where it is.
Okay, okay. Then we will discuss. Don't worry. We will discuss if you want to.
Actually, this the way you have explained this logic, it's very difficult to find equivalent in our chapters here. The way
Mhm.
these chapters are laid out, they are in a different format, and the way we are gone about topic, it's a little different. I mean, we are not able to correlate with
Okay, okay.
the.
Ma'am, this much is not given in the material. So if you are
Oh,
you
oh,
will should
immediate
follow
inference you
something,
don't
some
have, no?
other book or something, please suggest.
Yeah, yeah. If
No,
any
that
book. Hmm.
the materials that you are having, it must be according to the syllabus, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Whatever is there in syllabus, there must be all these are must be in your material.
Yes, but not this much. Whatever you are saying is
I
much
am
more than
actually
what's
talking
given.
too much. Is it?
Sorry.
Maybe it's my fault. Maybe I am just going out of the syllabus.
So actually, the difficulty what we are facing is that we are not able to refer to the study material,
Mhm.
uh, and it is not laid out in the way you are. Maybe what you are teaching us is some like from a different book of logic. The study material is laid out in a very different way with a lot of symbols and Venn diagram. You
Venn
know,
diagram is there, but Venn diagram is a latter part, you know. Venn
Okay. So,
diagram
ma'am,
is very
do
latter
you have
part.
the study material like so that you can
See,
um,
IGNO is having its own study materials. Other than that, you can also have logic, introduction to logic, which is also there in your reference or recommended list. Okay,
okay.
or the introduction to logic by Copy and Cohen. Uh, and that is a very big book. Another is the introduction to logic by G Mishra. Okay, that you can follow, where before you read the Venn diagram, it is also necessary for the students to understand how to draw the Venn diagram. Okay, how we can represent all the four categorical propositions in a diagram, in a diagrammatic way. Okay, so
Yes.
unless you understand it properly, what is distribution of term, or how the a proposition can be represented in a Venn diagram, how all these propositions are to be represented in a diagram, then how can we understand it? Okay, so
Yes.
that is why I feel that it is I just try to cover what is necessary to understand, so
Yeah. Yeah.
that you will be able to grasp the further developments. That if somebody is not well acquainted with classical logic or classical proposition, if you don't know what are the categorical proposition, then how can you understand the, or how can you identify a valid argument or invalid argument? Okay, then what, how can we understand a syllogism? What are the rules of a valid argument? What are the rules of invalid argument? Then the predicate logic is a latter development of propositional logic. Okay, so they say that propositional logic is not enough. We need to also symbolize the predicates also. It is not necessary that we need to only symbolize the proposition by a letter. The proposition is having subject and predicate, so it is also necessary to remove the ambiguities by symbolizing the predicate also. Okay, so that is the way I am following. Okay.
So, I mean, if we refer to this Copy and Cohen book, is it like following the similar structure? Because that would be easiest
You
for
can
us.
follow Copy and Cohen. It is there in your recommended book list. I have seen it.
Mhm.
Okay, and also you can follow another book by Ganeshwar Mishra, which is on introduction to logic, um, which is also basic principles of deductive logic. It is okay. The name of the book is Basic Principles of Deductive Logic. That also you can follow.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And ma'am, can we have your contact details if we have any queries that we can,
Yes, yes, you can have my contact details. I will just write it down here in your message box. Okay.
okay.
So this is my 377. This is my number. Okay, and this is my ID. Okay. Okay, but, can anybody please read out what are there in your syllabus?
Yeah, one second.
Please, please.
So in unit one, we have types of categorical propositions, uh,
Okay.
A, E, I, O, and square of opposition.
That is, today we have finished it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
From
can you
that
please
you have
introduce?
started. From this you are, this is the beginning.
Yeah, that is the starting.
Right? Okay. Then,
This I don't really like IGNU study material. It's really sometimes complicated. So I like the structure that you have given us. Only thing we couldn't find it here.
yes. Okay. Then,
Uh, one second.
Amrish, can you just send me this syllabus to my contact number? You are having this. WhatsApp
Yeah,
me or mail me. Or you can
yeah, I
share,
can do that.
if you are having on laptop or phone, you can share the screen, please.
Give me 1 second. I'll try to log in through the laptop. As of now, I haven't logged in.
Okay, all of you are staying in Odisha or in different states?
I'm staying in Odisha.
Okay,
Odisha.
okay.
Ma'am,
So,
Odisha.
or
Odisha.
okay, okay, okay. Thank you, thank you. In Bhubaneswar?
I'm staying in Sambalpur.
Are Baba,
Ma'am, Kendrapada.
Baba. Okay, okay.
Baleshwar.
Hmm. What about you, Snigdha?
Bhubaneswar and Cuttack.
Bhubaneswar and Cuttack. But all of you are not Odias, right? Or all of you are Odias.
No, ma'am. I'm Odisha. I'm Odisha.
ସବୁ ଓଡ଼ିଆ?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
ଆଉ ସେ ମଝିରେ ସେ ଫାଷ୍ଟ ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେଲା କେହି ଜଣେ କହୁଥିଲେ ହିନ୍ଦୀରେ କହିବା ପାଇଁ।
I think he's not come today.
ଫାଷ୍ଟ ବହୁତ ଜଣ ଲଗଇନ୍ କରୁଥିଲେ ନା, ତ କେହି ଜଣେ ଥିବେ ତା ଭିତରୁ।
ମିକ୍ସ ଅଛ ବୋଲି, ନହେଲେ ତ ମୁଁ ଓଡ଼ିଆରେ ବି କହିଦିଅନ୍ତି ଆରାମସେ।
ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ଗୋଟେ ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ ହଉଛି ଆମେ ଯୋଉ ପ୍ଲସ୍ ଟୁ ଆଉ ପ୍ଲସ୍ ଥ୍ରୀ ମାନେ ଯୋଉ ପ୍ଲସ୍ ଥ୍ରୀରେ ଆମେ ଯୋଉ ଲଜିକ କୁ କଭର କରୁଥିଲେ
ହଁ
ଇଗ୍ନୋ ସିଲାବସ ରେ କଣ ହେଇଛି ନା ମାନେ ଆମର କଣ ଗୋଟେ ଗୋଟେ ଯୋଉ ଆମର ମାନେ ୟୁନିଟ ଥିଲା ସିଏ ତାକୁ ଗୋଟେ ଗୋଟେ ମାନେ ଗୋଟେ ବ୍ଲକ ରେ ସେ ଗୋଟେ ୟୁନିଟ କରିଦେଇଛନ୍ତି
ହଁ, ମୁଁ ତ
ମାନେ
ସେଇଆ ଦେଖୁଥିଲି। ମୁଁ ମତେ ନିଜେ କନଫ୍ୟୁଜ ହେଇଗଲି। ମୁଁ ସେ ସାରଙ୍କୁ ସେଇଆ ପଚାରୁଥିଲି ଯେ ସାର୍ କେମିତି ୟାକୁ କଭର କରାଯିବ।
ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ତ ଆମେ ଯଦି ଫାଷ୍ଟ ସେ ପୁରା ଷ୍ଟାର୍ଟ କରିଦେଇଛନ୍ତି ମାନେ ହଉଛି କ୍ୟାଟେଗୋରିକାଲ ପ୍ରପୋଜିସନ ଏଇଆଇ ତ ଫାଷ୍ଟ ଆମେ ପ୍ରପୋଜିସନ ମାନେ କଣ ଯଦି ମାନେ ତାକୁ ନ ବୁଝିବା ତ ଆକୁ ମାନେ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ କନଭର୍ସନ ଅଭର୍ସନ ଯୋଉ ତାପରେ ଆସିଗଲାଣି ନାଇଁ ଫିଗର ଆଉ ସିଲୋଇଜିମ ଏଗୁଡା
ହୁଁ
ତ ବହୁତ ଡିଫିକଲ୍ଟ ହବ। ଆମକୁ ମାନେ 5 ବର୍ଷ ଲାଗିଗଲା ସେଇ ଲଜିକ ମାନେ ମୋର ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ମୁଁ ପୁରା ଲଜିକ +2 ଟୁ +3 ଗ୍ରାଜୁଏସନ ମୋର ପୁରା ପେପର ଥିଲା ତ
ହୁଁ
ମୁଁ ସେଇଟା ଇଗ୍ନୋରେ ଦେଖିକି ମୁଁ ପୁରା ମାନେ କନଫ୍ୟୁଜ ଯେ ମାନେ ଗୋଟେ ୟୁନିଟରେ ମାନେ ତାକୁ ଏକାଥରେ ଫିଗର ସବୁ ମାନେ ପୁରା ଷ୍ଟାର୍ଟିଂ ତାର ରଖିନାହାନ୍ତି ଯେ ମାନେ ଇଣ୍ଟ୍ରୋଡକ୍ସନ ପାର୍ଟ କରିକି ତାପରେ ମାନେ ଡିଭାଇଡ କରିକି ଯେ ମାନେ ଜଣେ ବୁଝିପାରିବ। ମୋ
ହୁଁ
ପାଖରେ ମୁଁ ବୁଝିଛି +2 ପାଖରୁ ତ ମତେ ଆପଣ ଯୋଉ ପଢଉଛନ୍ତି ମତେ ବହୁତ ଇଜି ହଉଛି ମାନେ ବୁଝିବା ପାଇଁ
ହୁଁ ହୁଁ
ତ ଯୋଉମାନଙ୍କର ଲଜିକ ନଥିଲା ତ ସେମାନଙ୍କୁ ଟିକେ ଡିଫିକଲ୍ଟ ହବ ବୁଝିବାକୁ।
ହୁଁ ହୁଁ। ସେଇଥିଲାଗି ତ
ହଁ
ମୂଳରୁ ପଢିବା। ମୁଁ ଭାବିଛି ଯେ ମିକ୍ସଡ ଲୋକ ଅଛନ୍ତି, ବୋଧେ ମେ ବି ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କର ବ୍ୟାକଗ୍ରାଉଣ୍ଡ ନଥିବ ଏକା। ଦେନ୍ ମତେ ବି ବହୁତ ମାନେ କଣ ସ୍ଲୋଲି ଟିକେ ପଢିବାକୁ ପଡୁଛି। ଗୋଟେ ଜିନିଷ ବୁଝିବାକୁ ପଡୁଛି।
ଆଜ୍ଞା।
ଏମିତିରେ ବି ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ତମେ ଯଦି ଜାଣିଥିବ ଜଣେ କ୍ୟାଟେଗୋରିକାଲ ପ୍ରପୋଜିସନ ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିକି ଫିଗର ମୁଡ କରିକି ସିଲୋଜିଜମ
ହଁ
ରୁଲ ବତେଇ ଦେଇକି ସରିଯିବ
ହଁ ହଁ
ଆରାମସେ।
ହୁଁ
ସେମିତି କିଛି ଅସୁବିଧା ନାହିଁ। ତାପରେ
ହୁଁ
କ୍ୱାଣ୍ଟିଫାୟାର ଯେତେବେଳେ ପଢିବ ସେତେବେଳେ ତ ଆହୁରି କଷ୍ଟ ଲାଗିବ ତାକୁ।
ହଁ।
Ambrish, what happened?
Just 1 second, ma'am. It will.
ତମର ସେଟା କେମିତି ବ୍ଲକ ଯୋଉ କୋର୍ସ ଇଣ୍ଟ୍ରୋଡକ୍ସନ ଅଛି ସେ କୋର୍ସ ଇଣ୍ଟ୍ରୋଡକ୍ସନ ଟା ହିଁ ବୋଧେ ସିଲାବସ ନା?
ନାଇଁ ମ୍ୟାମ୍, 4ଟା ପାର୍ଟ ରେ ତାକୁ ସେ କରିଛନ୍ତି, ମାନେ 4ଟା ବ୍ଲକ ରେ ସେ ତାକୁ ଡିଭାଇଡ କରିଛନ୍ତି। ତ ଫାଷ୍ଟ ଆମର ଯୋଉ ହଉଛି
ଗୋଟେ ମିନିଟ
ଫାଷ୍ଟ।
ଗୋଟେ ମିନିଟ ମୁଁ ଦେଖିକି ତମକୁ କହୁଛି ଏଇଖିନା ହେଲା।
ଆଜ୍ଞା।
ଆଚ୍ଛା, ବ୍ଲକ 1 ରେ ଅଛି ତମର ଇଣ୍ଟ୍ରୋଡକ୍ସନ ଅଛି, ତା ବାକି 4ଟା ପାର୍ଟରେ ଦେଖ। Block 1 gives a brief picture of the concern of the traditional classical logic as it emerged from the Aristotelian period onward. ହେଲା? The basic understanding of terms, propositions, and syllogism with figures and moods enables the student of philosophy to dwell in the realm of right reasoning and validity and invalidity of argumentation. Block 2 is concerned with sentential logic as in modal logic. It brings home to the students the importance of argument forms in modern logic, as it is clear that arguments are different from argument forms. Then tomorrow third re achi indirect proof. Oh my god, eguda sobu achi. Conditional proof, predicate logic ro. Quantified rules of instantiation, rules of generalization, etc. etc. तो गुड़ाई जिनिस अछि आ क्लास के एटाको केमती बुझेबो ऑनलाइन
ମ୍ୟାମ୍, ବିନା ଫିଗର କୁ ଡ୍ର କରିକି ବୁଝିବା ବହୁତ କଷ୍ଟ ହେଇଯିବ।
ବହୁତ କଷ୍ଟ। ତାପରେ ମୋର କ୍ୟାମେରା ବି କାମ କରୁନି यार। ହେଇଯାଇଛି ଗୋଟେ ହେଇ ନହେଲେ ତମକୁ ହ୍ୱାଇଟ ବୋର୍ଡରେ ହିଁ ବୁଝେଇ ଦେଇ ପାରିଥାନ୍ତି, କିନ୍ତୁ ଏଇଟା ଏତେ କମ କ୍ଲାसेସରେ ହେଇପାରିବନି। ଅସମ୍ଭବ ବୁଝେଇବା। ହଉ ଠିକ ଅଛି। ଗୋଟେ କାମ କର ଅମରିଶ, ପ୍ଲିଜ ସେୟାର ଦ syllabus with me. Okay, so tomorrow we are having class na?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So tomorrow what I will do, I will not going to talk about any abortion or that. I will just talk about what are the figures and what are the moods and the rules of syllogism. Okay. From that, we will go straight to the symbolic form of symbolic logic. Okay. Symbolic logic in which I will check what are there in symbolic logic in your syllabus. ଆଉ କାର ଲଜିକ ଥିଲା ରେ ସ୍ୱାଗତିକା କି ମମତା ଏମାନଙ୍କର
ନା ମ୍ୟାମ୍, ଲଜିକ ନଥିଲା ଆମର।
ନଥିଲା।
ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ଥିଲା ଫିଲୋସଫି ଗ୍ରାଜୁଏସନରେ।
ଥିଲା ତ ବୁଝି ଯାଉଥିବ ଆଉ।
ଆଜ୍ଞା।
ବଟ୍ ମ୍ୟାମ୍, ଆମର ଗ୍ରାଜୁଏସନରେ ଲଜିକ ଟା ଗୋଟେ ଫାର୍ଷ୍ଟ ସେମିଷ୍ଟରରେ ଥିଲା, କିନ୍ତୁ ଯୋଉ +2 ରେ ଥିଲା, +2 ରେ ଟିକେ ମାନେ 2 ବର୍ଷ ତାର ମାନେ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ମିଡିଏଟ ଇମିଡିଏଟ ଲଜିକ, ସେ ଦୁଇଟା
ହୁଁ
ଯାକ ମାନେ ପୁରା ମାନେ ମାନେ ସେଟା କଣ ପୁରା ମାନେ କ୍ଲିୟରଲି ବୁଝି ହେଇଯାଇଛି। ହୁଁ।
ହୁଁ ହୁଁ।
ଏଠି ମାନେ ଏତେ କମ ଟାଇମ 5ଟା କ୍ଲାସ ରେ ମାନେ ତାକୁ ବୁଝିବା ବହୁତ କଷ୍ଟ ହେଇଯିବ।
5ଟା ବି କାଇଁ 4ଟା କ୍ଲାସ ନା 5ଟା କ୍ଲାସ?
4ଟା କ୍ଲାସ ବୋଧେ।
ଆହୁରି କମ। 2ଟା ପଳେଇଲା ଆଉ 2ଟା ଅଛି।
ଯୋଉଟା ଆମେ 2 ବର୍ଷରେ ବୁଝିଥିଲେ ତାକୁ ଆମେ 4ଟା କ୍ଲାସରେ ବୁଝିବା।
Thank you on your email. And I'm
Okay.
sending the. This is just an Excel sheet which outlines the all the blocks and what all it contains.
Hmm. Let me check. No. You have done with others? No.
Sorry.
Okay. Huh. A categorical figure, mode, and possible types. Validity, invalidity, reachability.
This
What is
Excel
about
sheet.
block 2 or block 1 or block 2?
Yeah,
They are
block
almost the same.
block one.
Classical logic, and it is sentential logic. Then type of categorical proposition, square of opposition, then categorical syllogism, all are same.
What the Excel sheet that I have sent you, in block one there is classical logic,
Yes. See the
and
details. Look at the details.
yeah, in the details, in block two there is introduction to the form of arguments in modern logic.
ଆଠଟା ବେଳକୁ ପଳେଇ ଆସିନାରେ ହଁ ତାହେଲେ ଆସି ଡ୍ରେସ୍ ଥୋଇଦେ ମାମା ଶାଢୀ ବି କରିଦେଇଛି ଏକାଥରେ ନେଇକି ପଳେଇବି ଆସିଲେ ଆଉ ହେଲା
Okay, elective, no? Yours is elective or what? Elective, no?
Yeah, this is elective.
Okay. Logic 4 credits. Okay. MPYE 001 logic, and this is your 4 credit. Block 1 is classical logic, block 2 is sentential logic 1,
Yeah.
introduction. Then block 3 is sentential logic 2, proving validity. Then block 4 is predicate logic. In sentential logic, see, it is repeated, block 1 is repeated.
Maybe I made that mistake, but here I am seeing that how in block two,
Uh,
sorry, yeah, in block two, I am seeing introduction to the form of arguments in modern logic,
mm-hmm,
conjunction, disjunction, conditional, and biconditional. That is unit two.
mm-hmm.
Unit three is rules of inference and the nature of validity of arguments.
Okay.
And unit four is fallacies.
The fallacies you can't, this is very difficult to. There are formal fallacies, there are informal fallacies. Okay. See, I can cover this by tomorrow. I will try because deduction did this sorry, conjunction, disjunction, biconditional implication. It's not so difficult, and you will also not find any difficulty in argument and argument form also. Okay.
Mhm.
It is easy. Then what is the third one?
Third block.
Hmm.
Block three is proving validity. That is,
Yes, conditional proof, indirect proof, proving invalidity.
yes,
Okay. Then your predicate logic, last one.
yes. Last one is predicate logic.
Okay, okay. ठीक है. See, this is not possible, to online I can't do this conditional. You have to, this is a classroom material thing. But still, let's see See, if you are having materials and if you understand the things, then it will be easier. Otherwise, only theoretically we will do.
Hello.
So, um, from the
Swagatik,
perspective of like the
Swagatika,
Yes,
question
ma'am.
papers, do you
Yes,
want
ma'am.
me to send,
ଆରେ ତାକୁ ମ୍ୟୁଟ୍ କର ସେ ତାର ଗପୁଛି ସ୍ୱାଗତିକା ୟେସ୍ ୟେସ୍ ଅମ୍ବରୀଶ
do you want me to send like a list of the previous year question papers which like
नो नो
show?
नो
No.
ପ୍ରିଭିୟସ୍ ଇୟର୍
Previous
କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚନ୍
sir ignore site ରେ ମିଳି ଯାଉଛି
ଆଚ୍ଛା ଆଚ୍ଛା
2011 ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ।
ହଉ ଠିକ୍ ଅଛି ଦେଖିବା କ'ଣ ହେଉଛି ହେଲା ଚେଷ୍ଟା କରିବା ଯେତିକି ପାରିବା କରିବା ଆଉ
ଆଜ୍ଞା ମ୍ୟାମ୍।
ଓକେ ଚଲୋ ରଖ ତାହେଲେ ଆଜି ପାଇଁ ହଁ ହଁ
So now, like, what is the like next topic we will take up? Like, what is the
next tomorrow I will discuss the moods and figures of syllogism. Okay, and I will also discuss the rules of syllogism to identify a valid argument. Okay,
Mhm.
then from that I will discuss the symbolic logic straight, where you will see how the logical connectives. Okay, this conjunction, disjunction, implication. These are logical connectives. Hmm. And how these logical connectives are used in logic. What is the definition of variable? What is the definition of constant? Okay, how can we decide the truth value of compound propositions? How can we make how can we symbolize the everyday language? Okay, then from that there are certain rules of deduction. Okay, that's to check the validity. I don't know whether you all know about truth tables. Are you all aware about it?
I had studied, I have done engineering, so I had studied tables that time.
Okay, truth table is a method of checking the validity of arguments. Okay, from that there are other methods which are
Is
being
it Boolean
proposed.
logic? Like, yes, not like Boolean logic of
Yes, yes, it
truth
is.
table.
It is similar to it, but huh. Then from that we will move to the other methods of checking the validity, and under this we are having this conditional proof, the indirect proof. Okay, these are all the methods of checking the validity of an argument.
Okay.
See, one is your symbolic logic by, see, one book you need by Copy and Cohen, which is the introduction of logic, okay, for a propositional logic. Then another book you will, that is by Copy also, but the name is Symbolic Logic.
Mm-hmm.
Symbolic Logic, 5th edition.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is that you will need for the block 3, I think. Block 3 and 4.
Block 3. Okay. Sentential logic. Hmm.
Yes, block 3 you need this. Block 3 and block 2 as well.
Which one? Fifth, symbolic logic, fifth edition. This one.
Printed by Irvin Copy. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
You can easily find it out in the market.
Mhm.
What else?
So I think if we can like take only few topics and do it nicely, at least sure and certain we will cover those topics. So
Huh,
that would be
I am just thinking about it only. Okay, let me just finish it by tomorrow. this syllogism part. Okay.
Okay.
Then from that we will move to the symbolic logic. Then unless you understand the syllogism or the construction of how the premises need to be, the what are the constituent of syllogism, what kind of syllogism are to be called as valid argument. Okay, how many premises we need, from what premises what conclusion can be drawn. Hmm. All these are we need to understand. So I'll briefly talk about the things. Okay. I today I have discussed the distribution of terms, and this distribution of term is very important. Just read it out again. This will help you to understand the syllogism part.
Hmm.
Okay. Then tomorrow I will try to cover till the indirect, till the truth table or indirect truth table. Then next we will see what we can do.
Okay.
Okay. Or I will tell sir to give a extra class to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, then bye for today. We'll meet
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Okay, ma'am. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Thank you.